Hello, hello, hello. This is Tina Michelle, and you're watching Tina Speaks. And this is the roundup, the grand finale for Social Media Week. This is so exciting because we've had so many events, so many very fulfilling, very altruistic, very conscious, and fun events all week. And we are here today to round it up. I'm here with actually the gentleman who invited me to this party, Mr. Kevin Clark from Dakar Foundation. So when we come back, we're going to jump into it. And I can't tell you what's going to happen. I don't know. I just told people who were on this week or supposed to be on this week, just show up, just show up. And we have the beautiful Lindsay Hundley. If you don't know about Lindsay, you need to take a pen and a piece of paper and figure her out. This is a consummate musician that I've just been blessed to learn about. And then we did sort of a live private taping with her at seabirdjazzlounge.com on Thursday. Was it? No, Wednesday. Oh my gosh, all my days are colliding. On Wednesday, we did a private taping for our segment that we did for Social Media Week called Girls That Rock. So we had 3 live bands that were completely different, but they were completely fantastic. And you had us off because you actually are booked at Seabird Jazz Lounge to do shows, and they're coming up soon. So when we come back, we're going to talk to everyone. We're going to jump into the conversation. We're going to remind you some things that happened, and we're going to tell you what you're going to do next. Remember, in a Tina Speaks show, you have to figure out who you need to be to do it today. You're a human being, not a human doing. Get into action. We'll be right back. My God, oh my God, oh my God, that's Lindsay Hundley. And all I can say, movimiento is caliente, caliente, caliente. That's hot, girl. Hot, girl. So she's here with us. We're going to have an interview with her, and we're playing her music. And I just want to know, that was Lindsay Hundley and Lady Jazz, or who was that?
That was Lindsay Hundley and Lady Jazz.
Oh my gosh, and you guys are doing a show when?
We're doing a show October 20th at the Seabird Jazz Lounge from 5 to 9. So
Okay,
come
be
on
there,
out.
be square.
Free show.
Do you feel that? I was so sleepy before we started, and my brain just got so excited, and I got all this stuff going through my nervous system. I'm wide awake. You're like Audio Joe. Wide awake. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm also here with this great guy, Kevin Clark, that was here before. And I think when you were here before, we didn't realize how many things we really had in common. And then we started to talk, and realizing we want to change the world, we want to save our kids, we want to get them real resources. And you're the reason why I got involved with Social Media Week. So thank you for being here, Kevin Clark from the Carr Foundation.
Well, thank you for having me again. Yeah, I mean, I both thank, Tina, as well as I thank Social Media Week for getting us a slot. Again, it's not an easy thing to get. So, again, thanks to everybody that had a part in this week.
It was serious. I mean, it was a lot of work to do. And I know a lot of times when we talk about technology, there's like a whole energy anyway pertaining to technology because it moves so fast and there's so many bits per second, right, when it comes to what's coming into us. And, my commitment is I want to sort of jump into the technology, get you in your body for a minute, help you make a decision and a choice around it so you're choosing your world and not just the world being imposed upon you.
Oh, absolutely.
So our theme for this week for Tina Michelle International, and then we worked with the Carr Foundation, has been real hope, real results, real social. Real hope, real action, real social. And for those of you who have been watching, you know that I have a little thing for acronyms because technically I'm a life coach and educator. And so I focus on how do we learn quickly. Hope for our purposes, so that you can sort of write it down, is not about something that's passive or far, far in the future. It's tangible. Hope. Let's break it down. The H in hope stands for how. How does the information that you are hearing right now impact you? When you hear about a child that has no educational access, when you hear good music that just makes you want to movimiento, right? Mueva. That's the right word. When you hear good music that just makes you want to move, how does it make you feel inside your belly? I mean, not just out here, but inside your belly. If you can feel it there, then it's authentically yours. Most of us have learned success from other people's markers, from the outside in. Success is dictated from the inside out. No one else can decide that. And it's my belief that success is a series of little steps taken one by one to a specific end. In order to be truly successful and enjoy it, no one can dictate that to you. So you have to ask that at how for yourself. And if you feel it, I mean, you know that feeling, like right in your belly, it just tickles you on the inside, that's yours. So then you go to the O, which is take ownership then. Say, this is mine. I feel this way about children. I feel this way about my security. I feel this way about our futures in the area of technologies, consumptions, jobs, education. That's your ownership. I want to do something about it. If you're willing to take ownership of it, then we go to the next thing, personalize it. Some of us cannot sustain the commitments that we have made because we have not personalized it personally for us. I want to do what Kevin does. I can't do what Kevin does. Kevin does what Kevin does. And there's no one who can be like Kevin. No one can compete with Kevin because he's the only Kevin there is in his space, right? So no one can do him the way he does him, and no one can do me the way I do me. Therefore, I don't believe I have any competition anywhere because I uniquely have a space in the universe that I answer, and that's every person that has ever been created. You uniquely have your own resonance, and we need you to show up. So you personalize it based on what you will do. Be honest with yourself. Are you really going to go to the homeless shelter 40 hours, every quarter? No, probably not. Can you write a check? Yeah, probably. Maybe you can support someone that is going to go. Maybe you can sponsor them to go to another country. Personalize it based on what you really want to do that's sustainable over a long period of time. That's how we look at it for business. We take a risk assessment, right? And then we look over a period of time, we do a forecast. We do 1 month, we do 3 months, we do a year, we do 5 years. And we look at the sustainability, we decrease the risk, we figure out what is that ratio so that we can keep doing it. Capital's in, capital's out. That's the sustainability ratio. That's what we do for business. Do it for your life. Your income and outgoes for your life actually creates balance. So personalizing it says, this is what I can actually do and commit to. Once you do that, you sort of have a plan, right? That's a plan for life. How does it affect me? Am I taking ownership for it? Am I going to personalize it? Now you can execute. It's all about the execution. You've created a plan that you can personally carry out and sustain. Until we do that, we're actually sort of lying to ourselves, and we are duplicating other people's mechanisms and not really getting stuff done. What if we did hit one goal a day, not 10? And what if we measured that over 90 days? What would happen? What if we talked to one child a day? Right? What if we put away $1 a day? Not 100. I want to give $100,000. What about $1? What would that do? Over a period of time, we're sort of chomping at it, right? Bit by bit. My mama used to say, Tina, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. That's how we need to take care of it, because in the community of humans, which is what I believe we are, the community of humans, if we were to take sustainable action as a body and look at it little by little and make it a collective, we'd be surprised how much we accomplish. So for Social Media Week, my challenge to us, Kevin, is that from now to February, what are we going to get done?
Wow.
How are we going to get it? How are we going to do it differently?
Well,
And will we have a report card?
Well, I wanted to personalize that question. I know that I have to redouble my commitment to being more attractive to people like yourself, which means that I can't do it all by myself.
Nope.
And that's
Lone
been
warrior.
it's been kind of the plague, is that I've actually done a lot of the planning and lifting by myself, because it's really difficult to have people kind of keep up with your energy and your pace when you're so passionate about what you do. And because I'm connected to a nonprofit that has a cause, and everybody, I think, has a cause, they just haven't personalized and put it into action as a nonprofit or
Because
an organization.
it's overwhelming. They don't take it and break it down, break it down, break it down.
It's
break
more
it
than a
down.
notion. It is more than a notion, and you can't save the world. So what I've decided to do is to try and spin it around and see if I can take my constituents, which are kids, young people, young spirits, instead of trying to help save the world that they live in, I want them to think about changing their world and saving their world individually. So personalizing it for me is to help them personalize where they are in the
Yes.
world, so that they can start where they are, to start opening themselves up to the possibilities that people can come in and be attracted to their spirit, to their creativity or talent. That means it's native, but they have to be able to step up to the plate and make themselves available for people to see them. And social media has been the way, I think, that allows anybody sitting wherever they are
to
be able to get to that global space where someone can find you.
Yes.
So that's what I challenge all kids, is to be able to think of social media not just for, Twittering and chatting and all the things that you do for entertainment and for recreation, but to really think about it, for planning, your next steps to making yourself something that is a brand, or a person that someone is going to look at as an investment.
Yes. I love that. I love that. I always tell people I'm not here to change the whole world, just my world, and be very contagious in the process. And help people would want to change their world. We also have Vince here. Can you say your last name for me? Coley. We have Vince Coley from Social Media Week, and he's here to just tell the story. And have you been having fun with us so far?
Absolutely.
He's been playing with us for a little while. We have some great guests in the studio that are listening, and our beautiful, I'm going to keep bragging on her, the 2013 Independent Artist of the Year is here. Beautiful Bernice has arrived with her mom, Isabel, and we get to hear her live also. Ruben, are you there? We see ceiling.
Okay, we'll get back to Ruben.
We'll get back to
Ruben.
Ruben.
He sent me a text, said he'd be right back.
Okay, so we have Ruben Garcia also on the line, and he's going to help us really talk about some social media elements that are relevant. I think he's probably...
Yeah, I'd like to kind of give an intro to who he is in my personal quest to get, my nonprofit organization front and center for the youth that we are trying to attract. Dakar Foundation has been in existence since 1992, and Ruben has been with me pretty much all that time as the Chief Technology Officer, helping me become an evangelist, if you will, for helping kids get more connected to the the power of the internet. We started back in the .com situation where everybody was trying to find a way to get on the internet with a business or with a
Pot of
platform.
gold.
But Ruben was the one that helped me understand the power of the internet and that people could self-publish, self-distribute, and be able to have the ability really to create these markets so that there would be no barrier
Yes.
between your ability to reach somebody that had 10,000 tweets or 100,000 followers and really be able to create a marketplace for yourself that had no boundaries. So I think we got Ruben back here. So
Yes, we got Ruben. Hello, Ruben Garcia. Can you hear us? I think he's on the phone.
uh-oh.
We're going to take a quick break, and what I would like to do when we come back from the break, we're going to continue our conversations and our discussions in reference to Social Media Week. I think I've had, it was a lot of hard work. We've done a lot of events this week, but I had probably a very fulfilling experience watching people come together as community. One thing that I'm very adamant about is that we do not come together in commisery. We come together in common unity. And because I believe that we're all different shades of dirt, and there's only one race and it's human, I think we're going to get a lot more done. Just a lot more done. The next iteration of civil rights activism, I believe, is called actionism.
Actionism,
And I'm an
yes. I love that word.
actionist. I'm an actionist. Pareto's law says that 80% of the stuff that you create and resource and comes from 20% of your work, and that's what you do that is actionable. It has to be actionable. Activity is what you do back and forth, back and forth. Action is the thing that you do that changes the game. And I think we're going to have the opportunity to come together as a community to start thinking about those leverageable conversations. I watched Kevin work through this, and I kept saying, we need to, tell me what you need, tell me what you need. And then at the end of the day, it was hard for us to break apart the work because we just kept going. I believe what we need to do between now and before we start planning the next event as a team is figure out what goals would we like to see accomplished that we're going to showcase Social Media Week 2014. Completed. One of the things we talked about was doing a documentary with the kids at Compton. And I think we can actually pull that one off. So we're going to take a quick break. We have Ruben Garcia on Skype, and we have some wonderful people here in the space. And we will be back here on Tina Speaks. And again, finalizing Social Media Week. Thank you, thank you. See you in a moment. Okay. That is Lindsay Hunley with Gabby Sandwiches. Lindsay, what do you mean Gabby Sandwiches? What did that come from?
Well, I was in the studio recording, and my co-producer, Benny Maupin, who is my mentor, we were trying to figure out what to call the tune. And Benny says, well, how about Gabby Sandwiches? Because she had just brought in sandwiches for the whole band.
Oh, okay. That's cute.
And it's a
Situational art.
It's a mishmash of kind of different elements and ideas. So I think that's why it's a very complex sandwich.
What I love about you, and being that I sort of started out as a little musician. My dad, I think I told you, was in Juilliard at 15, and I went to Tisch School of the Arts first. So I love music authentically. I'm sort of an elitist a little bit when it comes to certain things. So when people say jazz and they play something that just really sounds measured, you can call it whatever, but I like the vibe. I like the live vibe, the movement of it. I love to hear the different progressions, the different pieces. I think what you do, and when again, watching you, is so sweet, because I'm saying this chick's little leg is moving. She's going from side to side. She's in the piano, and we had the piano tune just for her for Social Media Week, and she makes it sound so resonant and so beautiful. So
Thank
I'm
you.
I'm so happy that you're here. I also want to mention that you are involved in some altruism, which I'm very, very excited about, because I'm all about the give back, right?
That's right.
So you're the member of SGI World Peace Organization.
That's correct.
How long have you been part of that?
Well, I started working in the Akeda Kings Orchestra, which is associated with SGI.
Well, that's number 2. You're the
Yeah,
pianist for the Al-Qaeda
I've
Kings
been in
Orchestra.
that orchestra, and that's conducted by Benny Maupin for 3 years. And then I became a member of the organization a year ago, and it's a world peace organization.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Then you performed for Breast Cancer Awareness Walkathon. How was that?
Oh, it was wonderful. It was beautiful. I did a solo performance for that, and it was very rewarding. I enjoyed that very much.
And then you performed with Yurak of the Korean Fusion Ensemble.
Yes, we had the pleasure of performing for the South Korean president's reception when she came to Los Angeles a few months ago.
The chick has chops, okay? Just in case you didn't know. And then you have an upcoming concert in October for Ballisto Foundation benefiting On Target for veterans.
That's
Muscular
correct.
dystrophy,
That's correct.
the Whole Child, and Women's and Children's Crisis Center. You're sort of doing a montage of philanthropy there. Wow. I love it. I just found that I just love her soul. And then even when we were having some technical difficulties with the stream, she just jumped in and made sure that everything worked. And the artists felt like they were taken care of, they were held, they were seen. And that's important. That's very important. I'm hoping to even look at a different brand of entrepreneurship. I call it authentipreneurship.
Oh, nice.
I keep making up these words. Forgive me. But authentipreneurship, where we are putting our money where our mouths are. I think a lot of times as business owners, we're afraid to really say, I'm really about this cause, because we're afraid someone's going to hit us up, again and again. Or when we are activists, or in an activist mode, or we're altruistic, we're just like, oh my gosh, there's never enough money, resources, this and that. I think this next generation, a friend of mine that we're going to bring down and hopefully help with some work, his name is Shubro San. He's in India right now, but he is the founder of Conscious Capitalism. And it's a consortium of companies. Many of them are B corporations, or brand new. They're benevolent corporations. That means they have decided as a company to give 30 to 40% of their resources coming out of, just off of their profit and loss statement. Boom, they have their benevolent statement now. So it's a brand new format, about 2 years old. But to be in the company of these type of companies that are like, we want to give, we want to be about change, we want to make a difference, it just makes me feel good all over, because it's a new economy that we're designing. I don't believe that we really have a money shortage. The economy is bad. No one just took a vacuum and sucked the money out of the planet. It's still there somewhere. You just don't have it. I don't believe that's true. I just believe that people are spending differently. And my humble opinion, my petit avis, says that people are investing in people. They're not investing in stuff. No one needs another widget. They need to believe you. They don't need to believe in you. They need to believe you. So that makes me very happy, because I've been doing cost-focused marketing for the past pretty much 10, 15 years. And now the rest of the world is joining in. So when I'm branding someone, I'm working with brands, I'm always talking about what is your story? Why you? Not because you need to prove yourself. You need to remind yourself that you're here for a purpose. So when things move and shake, which they do in life, that thing has you dead on focused. Here's another acronym for you guys listening. Focus, right? Is focus, and this is what you got to remind yourself. Focus on continuously uprooting stops, sabotage, Satan, right? And so, the little word Satan gets everybody freaked out. Oh, you're talking about the devil. No, I'm talking about anything that stands in between you and God. Did you know that's what Satan actually meant? Like the word Sataniel actually means what stands in between you and God.
Wow.
Did you know that? How simple is that? What stands between you and your designed purpose? I always believe that every person is a designer original. There are no duplicates. So what stands in between you and expressing that? That's what we have to focus on when we are focusing. Focus on continuously uprooting stops, sabotage, Satan. Stops comes from fear. Sabotage comes from the past. Satan comes from forgetting who you are. Very simple, right? I like simple stuff. I don't like hard stuff because I'm not doing that. That's ugly. It's got to be sexy in order for you to do it over and over again, right? That's ugly. I ain't doing that. Sorry. It's too hard. I believe we still have Ruben on. Ruben. I can't wait to hear your voice, Ruben Garcia.
And Tina, I wanted to see if I can set Ruben up again properly.
Yes, I want to make sure we got his voice piping in.
He deserves a little bit of an intro. And what I wanted to do for the people who have kind of followed my journey through Social Media Week, Ruben has really set us up. And we wanted to call this particular little segment Social PTA meets Digital Warrior. And both of those have been past Social Media Week panels. And so Ruben has helped me try to create a way for some of the stuff that we talk about to be actually actionable, so that there's actually something that people can take away other than a good conversation.
I want you to talk about Social PTA a little bit as we keep working through trying to get him in. That got me so excited when I heard that term, Social PTA. Can you speak to that for a moment, Kevin?
Well, it started, Ruben has been an actionist, rather, in San Jose.
And he's getting it done.
And he's worked with schools in the San Jose Unified School District who have essentially found a principal who needed and wanted something more robust in terms of communication with the parents. And he was able to convince the principal to create a Instagram and a Facebook platform that allowed the parents to kind of take that platform over. They became the people who provided the content, uploaded photographs, and kind of a day-to-day billboard for all the things that they wanted to do to take an active role in developing a way for their kids to have communication with them and with the principal and the teachers. And it became a great model for what I think a lot of administrators would like to do when they want to have communication with the parents.
Yeah. And a lot of times the excuse is that we don't have time, we can't make the meetings, we can't be with our children. Even I was ballistic. My kids were in the school. I don't care how many kids you have in school, you just have mine, just mine. So they would hear my little, heels coming down the hallway, clack, 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 clack. Oh, here she comes. That's right. I'm here for my child. If I have to sit in the classroom and figure out what her stop gaps are in learning for herself, not taking a victim role either. We need to be proactive, but empowering whatever the school needs, the teachers need. That's just my thought. I homeschooled until they went to high school because I couldn't imagine leaving my child with a stranger. Maybe I think too much. I wouldn't leave my car with a stranger, much less my child. So until they were old enough to be able to really communicate, have a good emotional intelligence as well as the intellectual capacity to tell me what's going on, I did not release them to the public. But when they were there, I'm still there. My youngest is 16 years old, and she has a concert today, which I'm sort of missing, but she's fantastic. She sings, opened the Diamondbacks game with the anthem, and she's a dancer, she's a choreographer, so I'm very proud of her. So I think we do have Ruben on, and we're going to jump into Ruben, and then we're going to jump back to Lindsay when we come back from a break so that we can get this all managed here on Tina Speaks, and welcome to the grand finale of Social Media Week 2013. Okay, I just love that. I'm telling you, it's like Audio Joe. Thank you, Lindsay, for making beautiful music in the universe. I do believe we have our friend Ruben on. Is that you? Is that you? Is it live or is it Memorex? Can you hear us, Ruben? We're having a hard time getting him in. Ruben, if you can hear us and we just can't hear you, please call 323. Have him call him 323-965.
I have no audio, Kevin.
Oh, I hear you. I hear you. We hear you.
We hear you, Ruben.
Tell him we hear you. We hear.
Turn up the audio on his computer.
Turn up the audio on your computer. He doesn't hear us, so I can't tell him anything.
He's on his headset. Tell him to turn it on.
Hey,
Can you hear us?
We can hear you.
but I can't hear you.
Okay. What we're going to try to do is have you call in.
Yeah, please call
We
in.
can see you, but yeah, you call in live.
Just call in.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hold on. Yeah.
965 1600.
323-965-1600.
All right, bye.
And that's for anybody who has a question and wants to call in, 323-965-1600. This is Tina Michelle. You're watching Tina Speaks, and this is the wrap up. This is the finale. So, Mr. Kevin Clark, did you know you were going to have a profession of pushing boulders up hills?
I kind of did think that I wanted to take on more than I could imagine.
Well, you're an overachiever, so I don't care what you say. You're like, shh. You get a huge vision and you want to knock it out the gate.
Yeah, well, this word stewardship is one that I've embraced. Mm-hmm. And it means that you take on things that maybe have no reason, no rhyme, or no business model.
Yeah.
And so, to do what I'm doing, I believe is really a calling. Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping that I'm inspiring someone else to not have to start where I started.
Well, that's why you met me, right?
Oh,
because I'm a New York girl, and if it's not making money, it's not making sense.
Hey, New Yorkers. Yeah, I met a New Yorker about a week ago, and he was one of our guest speakers at the Compton High event. His name was Ronald Chandler.
Oh, Ronald Chandler was awesome.
And if I'd be remiss if I said that I can't thank him enough for taking out time in his schedule. For all who don't know who Ronald Chandler is, he is the CIO of LAUSD. And he had a very exciting week as he was able to mitigate the problem of students who got iPads. I think there were like 3 different high schools who had students who got iPads as part of the LAUSD rollout of making sure that the students had iPads at the end of 2014 for the Common Core Transition Program. Well, these students were ingenious enough to hack the iPads. So when they took them home, they were able to, again, put different apps on there, Pandora, but they were also so ingenious that they started to charge other students $2 to try to get their
ingenuity
computers hacked. And he said he didn't want to criminalize these kids. He wanted to be able to talk to them about that kind of creativity, that kind of out-of-the-box capabilities, and to try to use that for digital diplomacy or digital ambassadorship, something that allowed me to think that whatever kids are learning about social media and all these digital tools, how do we help them use this to be more accountable for good?
Yes. And see, what we're talking about is what we spent the whole day doing yesterday in Compton, right? It was Compton High School. We had a great time, and he was one of the speakers there. So you can go to socialmediaweek.org and look for the archive there as it regards to
Compton Creek.
The greeting of Compton Creek. You'll find it in the Social Media Week LA archives. So as we are continuing to move forward, we do have Ruben on, right?
Yeah, I'm online.
Okay, I'm having technology insecurities because we couldn't get you on.
Yeah, but I am
You're
remote,
here?
so it's nice to see that we can actually take advantage of technology and actually pull me in. So
That's right.
I'm
We're pulling you in from Northern California. Thank you for joining us. And Kevin, you did begin to do an intro. Can you do an intro of who he actually is when it comes to the social media conversation from a skill set scenario?
I'll try.
Because, he's a social beast.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And that's a good thing, Ruben.
Well, yeah. and Ruben, again, he gave me, there's several buzzwords that he's used for what he wanted me to be, but this is what he's been to me as an evangelist, a digital evangelist, a person who's been very disruptive in terms of how He can put the power of the internet, the power of digital tools, and now social media in the hands of people who want to use it like I'm using it to try and help people get better at communication and outreach. So without further ado, I want Ruben to kind of talk more about how we came to meet and what we've been able to do with our power to help people, schools like
unity.
Compton.
That's right, common unity. Mr. Ribbon,
Right.
Ribbon.
So, it all began, Kevin, I have to tell the story. When I was at Intel Corporation, I was their first evangelist in the content group. So it was my job to actually fuel equity investment software business development. So one of the first, and I love telling the story, one of our first equity investment ventures was to go after Napster before anyone else took any equity in them. So that really can give you an idea of where I came from, and that is, technology that was not only just cutting edge, but was really going to fuel how consumers were going to embrace technology and codecs and new standards to help to drive digital distribution. So, we had discussions, and my job at Intel was really to fuel equity investment with small cutting-edge software companies that were involved with anything that was dealing with music, video, internet. It was an exciting time, and that's really where Kevin and I think we broke bread and had our Come to Jesus talk about evangelism and really driving new technology. And from there, it just blew wide open with not just the music industry and digital distribution and file sharing, but now that we see that social media has actually taken a much more larger vehicle in terms of how people disseminate information, how communities, how large mass penetration audiences take advantage of technology to quickly disseminate or to publish and to really create a beacon for whatever their efforts are. It's probably in its best, purest form of how grassroots has become something that now is in a vehicle that is mass penetration market.
And see, I love what you're saying. I mean, you're saying a whole bunch of words that my little brain wants to write them all down, right? And Google them and give them to our audience so they can make it plain for themselves for the sake of execution. I think that's my job. I think I'm the translator of geeks.
There you go.
That's what I do.
And that's, right. And Tina, I look forward to, in the future, stepping into your environment and, we can actually disseminate some of this information a little bit more after the event. So that's what I'm hoping.
We're going to have a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun to, I'm up in Palo Alto. I'm just going to let you know, put a tickler in your calendar. I'm there the October 17th and 16th. I am keynoting at a body image event by projecthappiness.org. That's Randy Taryn and George Lucas that are producing that. So I will be there. So I will come and visit with you. We also have some companies up there that are part of this little movement called WeVideo.com, which is a new green video platform. Yulston, the CEO there, is a good friend of mine. We're trying to figure out ways that we can make the technology work in a relevant way. And then, of course, I have a little wish list company that I need to visit, and it's Tesla. I just want to drive.
That would be great. And in fact, so let me segue into where all of this has actually come full circle. So Kevin knows that within San Jose Unified School District, one of the largest school districts here in the Bay Area, we had 45 schools, elementary schools, that we actually deployed and engaged in driving new social media platform initiatives to help build positive PR. Because as you know, a lot of schools have had bad press. Their internal, their legal counsel doesn't know how to embrace and really drive public relation matters, because what's happened in the past is, all you read about is bad press, bad, publicity in terms of how public schools are losing enrollment to charter schools, to third-party schools. So I've had a lot of success over the last couple of years dealing with some of the elementary schools that are in the San Jose Unified School District, and that's a topic we're just barely scratching the surface on, but you guys are dealing with now in Compton.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited that that's something, again, so I'm not only driving vertical markets that were brand, high visibility, Fortune 500 businesses. We're talking about grassroots communities where parents who have mobile devices are just feeding and fueling all of these feeds and tweets and all of the different social media, bursts, and how that become a full circle kind of distribution and dissemination of information. That's something that I'm fueling with Kevin that I think we'll all have common not only initiatives, but I think there's going to be a lot of success there because we're finding that's where there's a lot of value.
Absolutely, and I can't wait to move forward and sort of look at the best case scenarios, our best lessons learned, so we can duplicate your efforts here for Compton. Kevin and I, our little companies, Tina Michelle International and Dakar Foundation, have adopted a child, and that child is named Compton High School. And because of that, I mean, I'm very serious and adamant about getting private businesses in flow. We even just talked to my main sponsor here about the fact we need smart boards, we need labs, we need all that other stuff moving. And he's like, tell me what you want to do. Tell me what you want to do. That's what we need. We need private businesses that are willing to write a check, even take the stuff that they bought last year that they're no longer going to use. Because when you walk into, certain schools and they have a high 8 videotape camera for their media department, that will break your heart. I mean, they don't have the stuff that they need today. So I thank you for your work. Thank you, Ruben.
And I'd love to interject because before I lose my train of thought, you know that all of the elementary schools that I have been in here in Silicon Valley, they have the Promethean boards. They have the digital boards. It's very interesting because as I go back into Kevin's environment there at Compton, I see the future here in Silicon Valley, and we've been using it for the past 3, maybe 4 years. So it's not just case study; it's actual deployment that I can fuel and give some, relevant data and representation of all the pros, the cons, what the teachers face. All the learning, curve, the gaps of what they had to do to cross the chasm to make sure that all of those things hooked up and were forgiving in their daily curriculum. And that's something that is valuable because it's not like we're starting from scratch. So I bring that knowledge.
Absolutely. We need your white papers. We need that so that it's duplicated. See, we know that, like we said before you got on, we cannot change the whole world. We can only change our world. And I add and be very contagious in the process. So if we were to just do this successfully, you've done it successfully in San Jose, let's do it successfully in Compton. Let's also give people the blueprint, the strategy, the white papers. And maybe not for them to deploy completely without the assistance of you guys as consultants, because I believe that every movement must be monetized or it dies, so that you guys can help these schools move forward. I mean, we have schools all over the country that are closing. And when I started to look at what are some of the issues, I mean, you've got principals that are fighting for the kids, that's trying to get the internal report cards going up. You have the administration that's saying, child left behind, pushing the kids ahead. Meanwhile, there's a huge gap for the children. The arts are gone. Physical activities are gone. There's a huge gap.
Right. I wanted to jump in and say the Digital Warrior platform that Ruben has really helped me to try to kind of connect with the real issue with a lot of the young people is hope.
Yes.
But they're trying to find hope to where am I going to be when I get out of high school?
Yeah,
where am I going to be 20
action.
years from now?
What's real?
And so what the real opportunity, I think, is to try and figure out with some of the organizations and institutions who do have career opportunities is to figure out how to meet these kids where they are and how to identify some of those kids who do want to take these platforms that Ruben's talking about, whether it be Facebook or Instagram, and create ways for them to create files for people to not just see them in the flesh, but to see their electronic files and be able to look at those files and figure out what their GPAs are, what kind of community services do they do, and everything that they can do to submit themselves for qualifications. And again, I wanted to say hello to my friend Sonia over there from the Army Corps of Engineers.
Hey, Sonia. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, because
we also got Upfest in the room. Love you guys. We're gonna shift you on in a minute. United in Peace.
Yes,
here.
That was just fantastic. But I know Ruben has something to say in close. But I just wanted to make sure that again, opportunities, hope that lead and funnel to something that's going to be tangible for these kids to be able to qualify for.
That's right.
So yeah. In closing, I want to say one thing because Tina really hit something on the head there, and that was, I don't believe that this will be successful unless it's really unleashed on a mass penetration level, very much the way that new standards get, unleashed, like MP3 and other formats that allow people to do remarkable things that they never imagined, but have to be at some level more than just the white papers. It has to be the actual, the best of breed use and tools so that people embrace them, and it just creates wildfire and buzz. And that's really what I've been trying to do with Kevin, and that's what that's our initiative. Our main initiative is to really unleash this so that it really it takes on, a life of its own, and it becomes, viral, like we used to say in the old days. I feel old now, but really it's viral, marketing at its finest if we can make this happen within our agencies and let people see the value of how quickly it really can be a successful technology to help save, as you noted, Tina, some of the struggling schools that have to build their PR or have to, get parents to really stand up and voice opinions and show their numbers, and so that's really the initiative I'm taking with Kevin. We'll unleash this, as best we can, and it's not going to gouge these vertical markets. It's really something that will take on its own life.
Well, I want to let you know that I have made a commitment, and so has RMCOnair.com, Pitbull Beverages, and Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles, to make sure that the kids have a place to record. They can produce their content. We want them to do shows. We can make sure that they have whatever we have available so that they can continue to generate hope for themselves. We know that just walking into a restaurant like Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles, which is in their community, and seeing themselves on the screen helps them to go, we did that today, not tomorrow, today. What else can we do? So our bricks and mortar, we're offering, for this initiative. So just know that.
Well, we appreciate it.
Just know that.
It does take one organization at a time to step out there as a leader and offering up, again, that kind of real estate.
And we always take care of our babies, right? So, and another thing that most people don't know that we have right down the street from here is a sound stage. So we have a facilities between, I think, 20 and 30,000 square feet sound stage that many television shows have been shot, and movies have been shot there. TV One did Love That Girl there. Martin Lawrence uses it for his sitcom Testing. So we have a facility there that Punch TV network is using right now, and we are able to produce shows. So I would love to bring the kids in there. I don't know what that takes. I know we talked to the principal yesterday about it, but I want to bring the kids there. I want them to get behind the camera. I want them to see, taste it, touch it, and then make something that they can actually see in full distribution right away, not later.
Well, I'll talk to her about it this week because we're prepping right now for a Veterans Day program.
Fantastic.
So we definitely want to see if we can get the kids maybe to do a trailer or some bumper that we can put out there.
And we're going to be your leg for media. So, Ruben, Kevin, as you make different strides, you call me, you come in the studio, we get it out. That's simple.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Tina.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, Lindsay, how did you like all of this talk about what we've been doing for Social Media Week?
Well, it's very interesting and very inspiring, and
Thank you, Ruben, so much, by the way.
It also kind of makes me
We'll
reflect
talk to
on
you
my
soon.
past
Talk
a
to you
little bit.
soon. It brought up your past?
Yeah.
In what way?
Well, I come from a really small town, Leadville, Colorado, which is over 10,000 feet, and there's about 5,000 people that live there. And
Wow.
so we're very much sometimes behind the times in terms of social media, technology, even school supplies, because it's the top of a mountain, and sometimes Leadville gets forgotten. But I was fortunate enough to have very hardworking parents that sort of started me on this entrepreneurship
Because you are an entrepreneur. You're a musician, but you are an entrepreneur.
That's right, because they have a gift shop called Hundley's, and anyhow, when I was of the age to drive a car, they said, okay, maybe we can pool our money and should we buy you a new, a newer car, or do you want to use one of our old cars? And I said, well, I'd rather put that money into a keyboard because I know it's going to take me further.
Wow. Wow.
So-
That sounds so familiar. I remember
Yeah.
taking a part-time job just so I could buy a Triton. I
Right.
quit when I got my Triton.
Yeah. So yeah, and that keyboard kind of I still have it, and it kind of having that technology helped me to play at all hours. It helped me to record, and it just helped me kind of get to each level. I was able to go to an arts high school called Interlochen, and my parents.
I was reading that Interlochen.
Yeah, it's a wonderful place in Michigan, and my dad worked a second job to be able to get me there, and so.
Look at that investment, though.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I always say this to people, and I'm sure Kevin knows the fight of this, removing the arts and athletics from the school. The arts saved my life. I was raised in the projects in New York. If I didn't go and have to practice for 3 to 4 hours a day, I don't know where I would be. Now, I didn't know my mother was just booking my time so that when she came out of work, she would meet me right? So I went to gymnastics and then ballet, and then I actually took Latin for years. But when I was a little one, there were no computers the way we had them. So instead of me taking our vacation fund, my mother used to, the fashion vacation clubs, she took our vacation money and bought an IBM computer. And then she went from there and literally hired someone to teach me Fortran, Pascal, COBOL, because she figured if I didn't learn these things, I'm going to be way behind the curve. I just figured she was a torturer. And she didn't like me much. But I realized that I had jobs where nobody else could get jobs, even with my little, this is embarrassing to say because it really does date me, weighing word processor. I had a weighing word processing system on. I had it at home, so I was able to literally start some of my first businesses at home. I was 13, 14 years old teaching preschool rhythm and rhyme with the YMCA in Tarrytown that actually raised me because they had all the after-school programs, and then they allowed me to teach little kids everyday things through sight and sound. But my weighing, I did the banner, I did the flyers. Gosh, who knew how important that was? So in school, for me to be able to take some of the best music lessons, I mean, I say the hood so people laugh at me. I was raised in the projects. I was raised in the projects at Tarrytown, okay? And it does count, all right? But in Tarrytown, New York, yes, is the home of the Watercress families, the Rockefellers. So we had very good public schools. We had full courtrooms. We had a lot of different advantages that most kids did not have just because we had a lot of kids that moms worked from home or they were at-home moms. We were 26 minutes from New York City, from Midtown. So you had a lot of people from the industry. So I laugh and say, okay, I didn't have money, but we did go yachting. Right? So, because those are the kids we're intermingled with. We didn't have money, but we were able to buy Ikegami cameras through our school and have that type of experience. So when I see the children not being able to have any of those resources, gosh, at least at school be able to have the exposure.
Yeah.
And when I joined the opera club, I saw Pavarotti, I saw Tosca, I saw Puccini's Tosca, I saw the Three Tenors, I saw La Boheme. I saw things that changed my life as a child. Just even seeing Cats and different off-Broadway plays, Black Box Theater. Having a type of access because I belong to the theater club in school, the opera club in school. These are the things I want to drive home.
Yes.
Tina, you bring such a valid point because all this social media week is out about engagement and impression.
And connection.
What fundamentally you just said was a parent and a child engagement. I think it starts fundamentally at home.
Yes.
We are all engaging on a wireless or a medium of internet mechanism, but it all fundamentally starts at home to engage a parent and a child relationship. Your life changed because your mom were consistently encouraging you.
Yes.
And that's what brands are striving hard to engage their thought leaders. They engage their brand ambassador. They can't even figure it out.
It's got to be connected to real life.
Exactly. So what you just said was so fundamentally important. And I always say to my friends that you should thank your parents because that's a fundamental platform. I think the engagement starts in the family. And that family can grow and unite and make a community, and that community makes a state. The state makes a nation.
That's right.
And the nation makes a world. And that movement starts right at home.
See, he didn't even want to talk. Busted. Got you to talk. Thank you so much, Vince. And it's true. I have a good friend, Rebecca Diaz, and she actually, we have partnered in a few initiatives, and she has a YouTube channel called She is the Actionist. So she sort of took some of the fuel for the fire that I guess was cultivated through some of our content and our conversation. She's actually my sounding board. I talked to her for hours and then we flesh out the content. But she has an initiative basically getting parents back to reading with children. And she has this funny little book, and it's the funniest thing in the world, but I'm supporting it. It's a limerick book. And it's basically about manners, about bullying and all that other stuff for parents to read with their kids and memorize with their kids and say it. I mean, the first one is called "I Found It in My Nose." It's really cute, but look that up on YouTube. She is the actionist, Rebecca Diaz. You have the right one, and she has a whole campaign designed through crowdfunding to raise money so that we can bring awareness back to literacy, but interconnected literacy within the household. Basic story time.
And
At home.
one more valid point I would say, which I share experiences in my life which I've done. So right now my father is 65. I've been educating him for all this social media. And today he's a doctor, he's a well-known doctor, but he's using this technology and a platform to start engaging with me, personal level. He's learning tools, he has smartphones, and I see that encouragement of getting depressed mode and going to socially different places. He's encouraged.
Yeah, because you're connected with your world. I mean, that's the theme for Social Media Week, right?
So I
We're
feel
connected.
that when parents teach children when we were younger, and this is a time we start giving to our parents back, and fundamentally platforms which are available, they are scalable.
Yes.
And these are so simple to teach. I taught my father. Today he is absolutely thrilled that he can connect to the whole world. He's writing his papers.
He's not missing anything.
Everything.
That's right.
Exactly. And he believes that this world is interconnected.
Yes.
So I feel that at a certain point, it's an interconnected world, and we should start giving back to our parents this technology and fundamental learning.
I'm an advocate for so many different things, and I try not to be too, I come from a really good family, and I like to be able to say, I had these issues, that issues, because my dad wasn't there. I believe my life is as it was supposed to be, right? And because of that, I wasn't missing anything. I just gained. But I came from a very good family that sort of operated as a collective. We used to come together, and we still do, every year, and we have a family reunion. At that family reunion, we sort of dole out and figure out who's going to college, who needs childcare, and what elderly person needs a place to stay. We don't put our elderly in institutions.
Yes.
Unless we absolutely cannot take care of it.
Yes.
And if you have a child that needs some help and you want to go to school, we figure out within our family, it helps that my grandfather had 11 siblings, but within our family, how to take care of that child. Every person who graduated from high school, we find a way to get money.
Exactly.
We had fashion, literally through our family reunion, the tradition, fashion shows, fundraisers, just so we can take care of our own children. When I sort of left my family, the safety of my family, and realized that people didn't function that way, it was devastating to me. It's like, what do you mean you haven't seen your mom for how long? What do you mean? Especially if your mom raised you and was there, you don't talk to your siblings. What do you mean that they don't like your clothes? We are the number one green organic material on the planet, human beings. We are that material. We are green. And if we don't connect ourselves to the next generation and to the previous generation, we lose all hope for the future because we have no idea why. So, I get on these tangents a little bit. People want to know, why do you do the red carpets? Why do you do the fashion show? Because with kids sitting there looking at you, their eyes are rolling over, they're tuning out. Not just kids, but adults. They're used to seeing the Kardashians in the different families. We're there in the middle of the sexy. We're just going to call you to the carpet, literally, on the red carpet. That's all. I'm not trying to make you uncomfortable, but there are reasons why you do what you do. And you know what? Celebrities really love the fact that you say, you know what, John Legend, I'm happy that you started the educational program in Africa and that you built those schools yourself. They love knowing that you know that.
Yes.
Because that's really their hard work. So, Lindsay, I love you, and I can't wait to see you live. And I'm going to come there and make sure everybody comes with us. I can't wait to hear you live.
I do
with your
have
band.
another show October 5th,
That's
which
right,
is
the 5th.
first, and that's with the Lindsay Hunley and Rusty Johnson quartet from 9 to 1 at the Seabird.
So you understand
And,
her body of work. She works independently, so she has her own work, which is what we saw.
That's correct.
She has the Lindsay Hunley, Rusty Johnson quartet, right? And that's Seabird
correct.
Jazz Lounge, the October 5th, 9 to 1 a.m.
That's
Write it
correct.
down and come out to the Jazz Lounge and make sure you let people know that Lindsay and Tina Speaks invited you to come.
And that particular group is more of like a contemporary jazz, R&B, and some standards. So it's,
Okay, that's
it's
where
a
you play the keyboard.
Departure, it's a
Yes.
departure from the Lindsay Hunley and Lady Jazz. So I have a diverse set of styles that I perform.
Well, thank you, Lindsay. And then also you have the Lady Jazzes, which we've been hearing, which is
Yes.
whew. I love it. I love it. I love it. I mean, you guys, the feel and the vibe, and I might be a little bit of an elitist. I come from, my dad, literally, I told you, can play any instrument. He picks up the instrument, he feels the music, he played it. So, I mean, I would sit there practicing my flute. I studied classical, and I'm reading, Schubert and Strauss, Stravinsky. He's like, you have absolutely no feel. So him and my grandfather used to take me to the water. My grandfather was 100% native Cherokee Indian, and they had a wooden flute, and they would make me play to the water hitting the river. So hear the vibration, hear the
interesting.
melody, hear it. Don't just try to read it. If you just read it, you don't understand the resonance of the universe. You're not part. You're not harmonious. And I used to get so frustrated when I was a kid because I couldn't feel it. And then something happened where I felt it, and I realized later in hindsight that was actually a point of awakening for me, because I became one with my environment. I respected my environment. I respected the sounds around me, which is very native in philosophy and tradition, and I was able to do something called improvise, and I was never able to do that before. So, and I appreciate that. So my dad, literally, we would just play, and he would say, play the guitar. And I'm like, Dad, I can't play the guitar. He's like, feel the sound, and respect the wood, smell the wood, put your hands on it. Those are things that I wish that I could take every kid into that experience.
Absolutely.
It meant something to me, because that came from my culture. From my grandmother's side and my father's side of the family, they're Black Cuban, right? So I would listen to the sounds of Brazil, sounds of Cuba, and feel so at home. When I was listening the other day to a group that I'm going to probably be working with very closely, which I'm very excited about, which is Paris Escovedo, that's Santana's Next Generation, and listening to the drums and the chakrari and everything else, I was just, oh my gosh, feel that in your body. We feel that way about all of our music. Whether you're listening to Mara Brennan from Ireland, and she's playing her music. Remember Clannad? I loved Clannad. That's their traditional music. When you hear the music from Venice, Italy, and you hear that special guitar and that voice that it sounds like crystal coming out of his throat, that's their special music. That connects all of us. Oh, how did I do that? I started preaching. Anyway, I so appreciate
I have to make
you.
one very beautiful comment. When your father said to you, feel it, right? He is giving you direction. He is empowering you with that feeling. He's giving you that space to getting engaged. And that's all our social media is, to get engaged and not just like. So you just said the whole statement was this one summary word called pure engagement. Every brand strives to be their brand ambassadors. Your father had given you that platform.
And it was actually the moment. It was the moment of consciousness for me that I measure meditation on, that I measure even my authenticity in love and how I cherish things. It was a moment that was cultivated in me to feel where I was afraid to feel. I'm like, what do you mean? I mean, I'm doing my drills, I'm doing my, arpeggios and staccatos, and I'm doing them right. And no, just feel it. And so when I took away all the layers, and he put his hand on my chest and he said, Danita, feel that.
Yeah.
Breathe in, feel that. I'm your daddy. Feel my love for you. And I was a little girl, and that's really my last memory of me being engaged with him, unfortunately. But it was enough.
Yeah.
That's why I said I've had a full experience, no matter what it was. Feel that. So when I was able to feel that in my heart, and then be able to express it through the music, or express it through my writing, or express it when I'm talking to the audience, I actually became me. I landed in my body.
Yeah. I wanted to interject there because you remind me
You keep taking some deep breaths here.
Well, yeah, I'm just so excited. I'm so excited because I came to music sort of as an escape in a way, because I had all of these feelings and I just didn't know what to do with them, and so I put them into the music. I started actually playing the piano when I was 13 and a half, so I started later than a lot of people, and so I wanted to put all of that feeling and sort of escape in the music, and now it's a wonderful thing, because now I feel like the music is, especially the jazz music and my improvisation, is a catalyst for expression and communication, and I just get excited. We were talking about this Women That Rock, and that's sort of how we came together, and Lady Jazz is such an exciting project, because I'm not just engaging with just anyone. I'm engaging specifically with a group of wonderfully talented women, and sometimes they're underappreciated in the jazz industry as
Like
instrumentalists.
Michelle Donatello, Esperanza
Yeah,
Spalding,
right.
Cassandra Wilson, which is one of the baddest bassists in the game. I mean, you have a lot
Some
of
amazing. In fact, we were selected to perform with an event screening of The Girls in the Band that featured individuals like Esperanza Spalding, Jerry Allen, and so we were selected to perform for this screening, and that was just a wonderful thing to work with the producers of that film and get to express that. And one other thing that sort of reminded me about this, everything we're talking about today with social media and education, I actually started educating when I was young as well. I started teaching when I was 15.
you can't help it. 'Cause
Yeah.
music gets into your bones.
Exactly.
And you literally feel like with that deep breath that you took, I totally recognize that breath, right? It's the breathe in, breathe out. It's the breath that connects us all. I felt that when I was a kid, and I wanted other kids to have the same moment.
Yeah.
Because you feel like you don't belong, you don't know where to go, no one gets me, no one understands me. And
Right.
sometimes adults still feel the same way. But to give that child that in your body experience and go, I don't know why, I don't know how, I don't know when, but I am me.
Yeah.
That's so important.
Absolutely.
That's a Huna prayer, by the way. You know Huna. Huna is very ancient prayer language from Hawaii. And it's all about love, and it's about healing the hurts of humanity. So there you go. I don't know how, I don't know where, I don't know why, but I do know I love, and I am. And it's just a
That's
beautiful
beautiful.
meditation that I start my day with every day.
That's beautiful.
Every single day. So I'm just so excited that we were able to have this conversation. I know we got to transition because we got some folk getting ready to come in here. And we need to set up our beautiful, beautiful Bernice so she can rock hard over there in the corner, right? This chick rock hard. She rocks hard. Please stay and listen to this beautiful young lady, 19 years old, and her voice is out there in the stratosphere somewhere. I can't even, when I hear her sing, I'm just like, can my skin stay on? Hold on, let me hold it. Let me hold it. Love her to pieces. Thank you, Lindsay, so much.
You're
I know you
welcome.
have a gig tonight.
I do, and if you would like to see more of me or hear more of me, you feel free to go to www.lindsayhundley.com, and that's Lindsay with an E.
Lindsay, that's
And
right.
thank you so much, Tina, for having
And
me
that's
today.
HUNDLEY.com.
That's correct.
That's right.
Right.
Thank you so much, and you're welcome anytime. We love your music, and when you have a new creation and you want to test it on the public, just come and play it.
Beautiful.
Right? I won't do what I do to my other artists. I literally put on the screen in Roscoe's, and then I make people vote hit or brick. I want them to have a reality check of what this industry really is like.
That's great.
It's, we just want to, it may be a hit to some too. It's important to have those analytics. That's how we use social media in the real marketplace. Putting a QR code on the front of your artwork so that people can engage immediately. Like it, love it, why, no. Is it not your genre? That's not a qualified
Yeah.
no. If it's not your tribe, that's not a qualified no.
I like the why.
Yeah. Love it, love it, love it. So thank you very much, Lindsay. We're going to take a quick commercial break here, and we will be right back here on Tina Speaks, and we're going to shift some seats, and we're going to see some new people. Don't go away. I know. It's just so much. But still invite like 5 or 6 other people and share the energy around the room. We'll be right back. One of the most amazing things